Hello, this is Courtney with C. Clark Creative. Happy to have you here. I have two cards today using autumn colors and some of the fantastic new Stamptember products from Simon Says Stamp. Here I've got the Geometric Builder Circles dies, and then I've got some Gina K cardstock, fresh asparagus, honey mustard, tomato soup, and Kraft. And then a little bit later on, you will also see some Plum punch cardstock as well. But what I've done is I cut scraps into, each circle is exactly, the diameter is 1¼ inches. So I cut scraps just a little bit larger than that, just over 1¼ by about 1½. And that way I can leave my geometric die intact. I did not cut it apart. And I cut 2 circles of each color in this 4th circle, and then 8 bases. And then you can see on the right here, I've added in the Plum punch, did the petals, which is a 5-color scheme, so I have 5 additional circles. So starting with the 4ths, I have a Kraft card base, and this is some Plum punch that I'm cutting into. I'm trimming down a little bit, and then I trim it down to 2½ inches by 8½ inches. My slimline cards are 8½ inches by 3½ inches. So I've got the PinkFresh Studio Slim Lacy Edgers dies here, and you want to make sure you orient this correctly because these dies do have a cut side and a non-cutting side, so make sure you have that cut side. I want to keep my card panel the size I trimmed it, so I just line up the cut side with the top edge of my card. Run this through the die cut machine, flip the die over, get the second side trimmed, and then my card panel is ready to go. So I'm orienting the circles here. I'm going to be spelling out the word autumn on these circles. So I have 6 circles, and then I will have 2 left over that I will put in my extra die cut box for use on a future product. And then I'm taking the Concord and 9th bold and brushy upper alphabet stamp set, and I'm going to place the letters on the individual circles, kind of orienting them how I want the circles to be all different angles, not perfectly aligned. So just kind of did that beforehand and then got these letters placed. And then I use my Misti to stamp onto the circles. I add a little bit of repositionable adhesive on the back of each circle just to hold it in place. Because I am stamping over a die cut image, the creases between the cardstock do require some multiple stamping. So I'm using Plum punch ink from Gina K, which is the coordinating color to the Plum punch cardstock base that I'm using. That just helps bring everything together. I'm going to use some adhesive shapes to pop up these letters, and then some Scotch foam tape to pop off this back panel. And then I use a tea roller to help get this background panel aligned correctly. So I just kind of figure out where I want the alignment, place the tea roller, and then I can flip that card panel over and get it placed. You can add some liquid glue on top of the Scotch tape, and that will give you a little bit of wiggle room. But with the tea roller, I find I don't really need to do that generally. So here's some adhesive shapes on the back to pop up each letter. The way I do align these without having to get overly involved in measuring is I start with the outer 2 letters, and then I move to the middle letter or letters. In this case, it's the 2 middle letters, and then I go to the last 2 letters. So this U ends up being the last letter I need to adhere. So this first card is complete. I'm not going to do anything else to it. I love it just like it is. The second card panel is going to be a birthday card. I'm going to use all those panels, or all those circles, and then I'm going to use the tomato soup cardstock for a background panel, and that it's kind of, it looks like looping circles. So I trim this card base to 3 inches by 8.5 inches. And then I put this circular die on the end, and you'll see once it comes through, I don't really like how it kind of cut the end circle partially. So what I do is I end up trimming the panel down just a little bit, and this is the happy birthday die. I'm going to use the Kraft and the Plum punch to do those. Kraft for the script, Plum punch for that background. So I don't like how the circles ended up on this card panel, so I just line it up so that it's, my cutting edge is right next to a solid circle, and then I do the same thing on the other side, and then I take some small detail circles to cut that little bit of overhang on each side. And then it gives a completely finished look that's pretty much any size panel you need, really. And then I just center that and adhere that straight to my card panel just as is. I have a centering ruler here to help make sure I get my sentiment placed directly in the middle of the card, and I'm using more adhesive shapes from scrapbook.com to pop up this sentiment. Some of the smaller adhesive shapes I did trim in half just to get in some of the loops, just to keep good stability to the card, because I did not double up on any of these die cuts. I have a single background and a single script. So I get that placed in the middle, and then I use just the larger adhesive squares for the circles that I place around. So again, I start with the middle and then the 2 upper corners, and then those last 2 squares. So you see here I placed that square, and I decided I don't like where it was. I tend to do things by eyeing it, so every once in a while I have to rip something off. So not a big deal. I just pull off what cardstock I can, add some liquid glue to the adhesive foam, and then just move over that alignment. It's not that far off that you're going to see that ripped cardstock. And then I've got it placed more where I'm happy with it. And then I finish off with some Nuvo crystal drops in Violet Galaxy. And I put these on with a bit of a swirling motion. I tap the card just to help them settle a little bit, and then just add drops wherever the urge takes me. And then besides setting this aside overnight to dry, this card is also done. So I hope you like what I've done with these autumn color cards. I love when fall hits just because I love these color combinations, and geometric builder circle dies are so fun to use. So thanks for joining me, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye-bye.